Welcome to Plant Based with Nicole, with your host, Nicole.
What's up? Hey, y'all. It's Plant Based with Nicole podcast. How y'all doing today? I have a treat for y'all. Some of you guys always question the vegan diet. You can't get enough muscle. You can't get enough protein. Well, guess what? My guest is a vegan bodybuilder. Okay. And she got yolks. So, I don't know what to tell you. The proof is in the pudding. Obviously, you can get enough protein on a plant-based, aka vegan diet. So you guys, make sure you stay on here. Don't go nowhere. Share this live with 5 or 10 of your friends in their inbox. We're going to talk about muscle building. How did she build all that muscle eating a vegan diet? Like, how does she compete in these competitions? Okay. So let's see. Tamara is a plant-based nutrition and body sculpting coach. She empowers women to get in the best shape of their lives with the Fit 40 formula, which is a simple approach to plant-based nutrition and sensible strength training without excessive cardio or spending hours in the gym. So she is a vegan bodybuilder, but she's also a coach. So what are the best foods? Well, this is a podcast today. So, let's get my guest on here and then you can, start asking her questions. Thank you for joining. Hey, Adam. But you know what? I'll answer that real quick. Protein, peas, quinoa, beans and rice combined make a complete protein. You could just have the beans by themselves. All nuts like almonds, cashews, pistachios. I can't think of everything. Peanuts, all those types of things have great protein. Broccoli, like you can make a salad. I can make a salad with 20 grams of protein just from Whole Foods. I can have a cup of peas, 2 cups of broccoli, and then I make my dressing with tahini, and that could be like 20 grams of protein. So there's so many. And then if you really, really want to, if you feel like you need to supplement and fill in the gaps, you can always get a raw. I would suggest getting a raw, and I would suggest getting the rice protein powder, because it's raw and it doesn't have any ingredients except for rice. So, and it doesn't have all the sodium in it. So those are some sources. I see my guest here. I'm going to go ahead and accept her. We're going to learn how to build muscle on the vegan diet. Don't go nowhere. Don't go nowhere. Thank you guys for joining. Thank you guys for joining. Let's see. Where is she? Okay, Lord, I'm just praying over this podcast today that everything will be smooth. Lord, I see some difficulties going on, and I'm asking that you would just bless this podcast, bless the sound, bless the audio, bless the video quality. In Jesus' name, amen. Hey, Tamara, good to see you. Nice to meet you.
Hi, yes, thank you for doing this. I know we've been trying to coordinate. I know you are a busy woman, so I definitely appreciate your time. And yeah, I'd love to talk about my journey or whatever else other questions you have for me.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I'm excited because I'm always excited to interview my guests, but I'm even more excited just because you're a bodybuilder.
Yeah.
and you eat a vegan diet. And
yes.
It's so what's the word? The misconception that, vegans can't build muscle, vegans don't get enough
Yes.
protein, blah, blah, blah,
Yes.
blah, blah. I'm so over it. I'm like, I'm so sick of hearing that. I was like, you know what? Well, guess what? Look at Tamara's body. That's proof in the pudding. Now I got some definition, but I don't look like you. But the point is, because I don't train like you either, but yeah, I was looking at one of your podcasts, and am I correct in saying that you've been vegan or vegetarian for 17 years?
Yeah, well, it's been over 20 years I've been vegetarian. But fully plant-based, it's probably been more like 4 or 5. It was a gradual, like, getting off the cheese, that was probably like the last thing. I would still do Pizza Friday every now and then. But even with that, I wasn't like doing a lot of it. But it was like when I fully committed and thought about it. I was like, you know what? I'm really not doing that much dairy. The couple of times I have it, I can cut it out. So yeah, but I haven't eaten meat since I was 17. So that was over 20 years ago
it
now.
was since you were, okay. See, I
Yeah.
was thinking it was 17 years, but it was since you were 17 years old. Okay.
Yes.
Got it. I mixed up I was a dyslexic reading.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
And then like you started kind of getting into this bodybuilding around the time of COVID, right? You joined the 6-month program and this is how it got started. Like, you know, everybody was doing all kind of things they don't normally do during the COVID time, right? We was getting creative, trying new things, right? So you joined the program and that's kind of how you kind of got started. You ended up losing 10 pounds. You kept it off.
Yeah.
Okay. So talk about that. Like, I know you started, with weights. Once you started the program, you weren't really lifting weights too much before that?
Not at all. I always had more of like an athletic build, but I didn't really work out. And I felt like a fraud for a while because I was like, people thought I worked out and I really didn't.
Oh, you were just blessed.
I ran,
that's a blessing.
good genetic. But I ran track in high school. That was pretty much it. I was a sprinter, so never was a long distance runner. I still to this day do not like running, which is why I love bodybuilding because I do not have to run anywhere.
Yay.
And so it's mainly nutrition. So because my diet's been really clean since I was about 17, like my first job, I worked at Whole Foods. So I've been doing organic since before it was cute, like since before people were like Whole Foods is whole paycheck. Like I was working there when there was only one Whole Foods in my city and now there's like 4, and now it's Amazon. I mean, it's crazy. So, but I was there when they were really promoting organic produce. And so I learned a lot about food quality at a young age. So I've been eating that way pretty much my whole life. So I think that has a lot to do with why I didn't have the health problems, why I wasn't overweight, even though I wasn't really a fitness fanatic. But during COVID, of course, like everyone was more sedentary. And so I just was like, I just need to get in shape.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I need to do. And literally less than, I'd say like 4 months, I had just started lifting weights. I didn't know what a squat was. Like I was like, what free weights? What are those? I don't know. A couple machines and a Zumba class. That was all I'd done before. So when I started actually lifting weights, I put on muscle very fast. And I had gained a lot of muscle. I had lost some body fat. And people were asking me, like, are you a trainer? Like, what do you do? And I was like, what? I just really figured out how to deadlift 5 seconds ago. I don't know what you're talking about. And so I had a friend who told me, he was like, you know what? You missed your calling. And I was like, what are you talking about? And he was talking about my muscle. He was like, you just have this great structure. You should have been a bodybuilder. And I was like, should have been, missed my calling. I was like, I'm not dead yet.
Okay,
like,
it's never too late.
I was like, so I was about to turn 40. And so I kind of had this idea, oh, this would be like a good challenge for me. Can I even do this? I wasn't taking it seriously until I had a consult with a coach who knew bodybuilding. And I was like, are they just blowing smoke or is this really a thing I could do? And she was like, well, you could, but just because you could doesn't mean you should. And me being my rebellious self, I was like, challenge accepted.
Like
let's go.
Game on.
I was like, let's go. Because for me, I felt like I had a little bit of an advantage with it already. And I also wanted to really show that you can do it without meat. And so for me, it was a big part of seeing how far I could push myself and seeing if I could even get to that stage. Because it is a journey. It is not easy. Yeah. And once I got there and I felt like, oh, maybe this is a place that I belong. Maybe this is like something I could do. I decided to continue. And from then I just have had women coming up to me, asking me, what do you eat and how do you train? Even people who had never thought about being plant-based before. Mm-hmm. So for me, and also meeting other vegan bodybuilders like Nimai Delgado, like Natalie Matthews, like Robert Cheek, who they somewhat use their fitness as their form of vegan activism. And that just appealed to me as something that I had never thought about before. And I was like, well, if people are attracted to a physique, whatever is going to get people to be healthier, to do what's better for themselves, for their families, for the planet, especially women, as we get like 40 and over and our hormones start going crazy, like just being plant-based helps with so many things that you don't have to go on all this hormone replacement, all this stuff and low carb and all this craziness. Like just eat more plants. It's very, very simple. So yeah, that was kind of my journey. And somebody I think in the comments was asking, do I eat carbs? I'm like, what do I eat? Yes. I also eat wheat. Yes. I eat gluten. So I eat wheat gluten. So I'm not a gluten-free. I'm not, I'm not very I'm not in any of these camps where people are like super orthodox about their
Yeah. We're
diet.
going to get
Um,
into your food, diet, and stuff in a moment.
yeah.
Somebody asked that question in the comments.
Yeah, they said, do I
Oh,
eat
okay.
wheat and how many carbs? It's like, girl, you eat some carbs. People
Okay.
don't know
Yeah.
this, but
You
you
need the
actually
carbs
need,
for the energy.
well, you need the carbs to build muscle as well as the protein. It's both. It's not either or. You know, people who train with low carbs have like like the worst recovery, the worst
Mm-hmm.
workouts. They don't have the energy. And even if they do get to that point where they're feeling energetic and get past that, like they call the keto flu, their muscles aren't as full. Their muscles don't look as good because you need carbohydrates to kind of fill out your musculature. So
Right.
this idea that like you should stay away from carbs is absolutely ridiculous. Although I will say what most people do on a vegan diet, especially women, they do end up with diets that are heavy in carbs and fat when they go vegan. And because their diets are super high in carbs and fat, they're just super high in energy, calories overall, and they're not getting in enough protein. And that's really why that's the difference between a physique of like the skinny fat vegan that you might see or just the overweight vegan. And I'm not saying vegan is a diet for losing weight, so please don't, because I know people are like, oh, every vegan isn't skinny. I'm
Right.
not saying that, but there are some people who believe that going plant-based will help them lose weight. And when it doesn't, it's because they're eating
Too much.
vegan junk food, they're
Yeah.
eating carbs and fat, and they're not getting in the protein. So all that comes into play.
Right. Right. And because you can eat a vegan diet and eat Oreo cookies and French fries every day. That's vegan, but it ain't healthy, and it's like high calorie, and it's just unprocessed, no nutrition. So eating vegan doesn't mean that it's healthy. Plant based. The focus should be plant based because you're eating more. It's usually more healthy that way. Because you're getting more whole foods and fruits and vegetables and proteins and the good kind of proteins. But anyway, yes. Okay, cool. So how did you put on weight so quickly? Like, what was your strategy, like, when you went through this program? And did you have a trainer, or did you work out alone?
Well, I have a coach now still. I've always had a coach. My initial coach that I had in my program was really great, but she was a runner. And so once it was clear to me I wanted to do bodybuilding, I switched to a different coach who actually wasn't vegan, but she knew the bodybuilding world. And she was great until I got to a point where I was like, I really need somebody that knows the nutrition side a little bit better.
Right.
And so the coach I have now is actually vegan.
That's good.
And so I really believe that anything that you try to do that's worthwhile, you don't have to do it alone, And I think a lot of people think, oh, I could do it by myself. I'll just watch some videos on YouTube. I'll figure it out. And of course you could.
Yeah.
But it's the same way of saying I want to master a craft, right? And instead of going to college or going to an apprenticeship or a course where you can learn from the best who are doing it, you go to YouTube and like Google some stuff and go, all right, I'll figure this out. That's not the most efficient way to do anything. So for me, it's important to have that guidance because it also takes the stress off. It's like outsourcing that stress of like figuring out what to do. But the long and short of it is that it's a high protein diet, but it's a plant-based protein diet. It's not, what normal, like sort of the high protein in the fitness world means. So it's much healthier and you can recover faster. And my training really, it's not as crazy as you think. It's not like I'm in the gym 7 days a week for 2 hours. For most of the time, I was training 3 to 4 days a week, no more than an hour for the most part. And even now, I'm a trainer about 4 or 5 times a week. And I'm not doing cardio at this point. I'm just doing steps. That will change the closer I get to my next season. But yeah, I'm walking right now for my cardio.
How many steps per day?
Like 10,000, nothing crazy. I'm not, I like going on hikes, but it's, again, to build and maintain a physique, it's more about being consistent than it is doing something extreme. And I think people see bodybuilders and go, oh, that's so extreme.
Let me do a timestamp on that. You said that at 3:16. I like that, what you just said.
Yeah, because here's the thing. Consistency will trump the craziest, weirdest, juice, fast, cleanse, whatever, detox. Being consistent will trump all of that. And a lot of it is like nonsense because we get into this bad relationship with food where we think, oh, I was bad today. I had this vegan pizza, or I had this piece of chocolate, or I had this cheesecake. And then we go, I need to make up for it by suffering. I need to punish myself because I was bad yesterday. So I have to be my own, evil stepmother. And now I have to punish myself by depriving myself of things. So I can't have carbs and I can't eat, right? And that is a dysfunctional relationship with food, with ourselves, with our spirit, with our bodies. And what happens, we don't even realize scientifically, we actually end up altering our metabolism when we do that. And I like to tell people, like, the simplest way I say it is like, our body stops trusting us. It's like, this, so she is crazy. She is not going to feed me. So I'm going to hold on to as much body fat as I can because I don't know what I'm going to eat again because she's going to go on a grapefruit juice cleanse for 7 days and we can't survive off of that. So your body stops trusting you.
Yeah.
And so then you wonder, why do I keep going through this cycle and I'm gaining weight and I'm getting bigger and bigger year after year? What I did before doesn't work. What I did in my 20s doesn't work. Yeah, because what you did in your 20s was you starved yourself to get on a beach or for a photo shoot or for a wedding or for whatever. And your body has got to the point where when it gets nutrients, it's going to hold on to all of that excess. And when you do that and you train your body to do that, it's not going to let go and release any of that extra fat because it doesn't trust you. You have to train your body to trust you by feeding it well. Our bodies are very smart. That's why people say, oh, your body's trying to return to homeostasis. You're always trying to go back to balance. So if you're thinking and living in balance, you're not going to look like a balanced person. Your physique is a reflection of what's going on internally. And if you're putting yourself through that time and time again, your body is a reflection of how you're treating it and how you're thinking about yourself. So this is the thing people don't realize. So when people ask me, like, what do you do? I'm consistent. I consistently eat a high plant-based protein diet every day. Yes. Right now, I do 130 grams of protein per day.
Oh,
and people
good.
are like, well, how do you do that? How do you do that? Right?
Yeah. That was one of my questions. My next question was, how do you eat? How do you eat when you're going to be competing versus when you're not in the getting close to competition? And then how much protein, carbs, and stuff do you give us a typical day?
Well, I do want to caution and say, because this is one thing I don't like. There's no such thing as general advice. So I can't give you a template for what I do is going to work for you, or what I do would even make sense for you. But there are some principles to follow. But it's very important to note that my height, weight, genetics is different than someone else. Yeah. So I'm not going to give like exact numbers on what I eat, because I don't want anyone watching this going, oh, well, if Tamara's that, then I think she kind of looks like me. Maybe I can, no, because any nutrition plan that you have should be custom to you. You might have health issues I don't know about. You might have family history I don't know about. So I don't want to say eat what I eat, but I will, like I said, in general, I do high protein. That's on or off season. That's not just because I'm preparing for a show. Okay. It becomes more important as I'm preparing for a show because I need to preserve muscle, because I am losing body fat. And so the whole trick is to make sure you maintain the muscle mass and also lose the body fat. Because what you don't want to just be a smaller version of yourself. Like a flabby or a smaller flabby person.
Fat. You don't want to be skinny fat.
Yeah. So that's what a lot of people do. Like, well, I'm losing weight, but I don't look any better. Well, because you are losing muscle mass along with your body fat. And people do not realize that. The protein and strength training help protect your muscle mass so that you actually have a sculpted physique and you're not just a skinny flabby person. So that's all year round. It's always high protein. And I look for ways to get in protein where I'm not adding carbohydrates and fat with it, so I can keep my energy level appropriate. So I'm not eating nuts and seeds for my protein. Okay. Right? That's a fat source.
What do you eat for protein? And then give me a typical day. And this is not for you guys to go copy what she eats, because again, what she eats is for her and her body type and her age and all that. This is just a sample, just because I just want to know, like, how do you look the way you do?
Well, I do a lot of experimenting in the kitchen. I love to like make up my own stuff. So like I will always like, how do I fit more protein in this? I'm always scheming. But some basic principles. I do have some specific recipes on my Instagram. If anybody wants to see some stuff I've actually done, I have done like a full day of eating so you can see what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. But some of my go-tos are like seitan, which is basically wheat gluten. So I'm not, like I said, I'm not gluten-free. Sorry, gluten-free people. I do a lot of wheat gluten based stuff, right? So that could be seitan, that could be right now I'm on a protein bagel kick. I love like my protein bagels. Anytime I can have something that's usually high carb and I can add protein to it, I'm all about that.
Where do you get
So
those?
um well, there's a recipe I have, like you can make them yourself. It's a little more complicated, but I tend to order them in bulk from a place called Western Bagel. They have two that are Perfect 10 and Perfect 10 Max. One has 20 grams of protein, the other has 30 grams of protein per bagel.
What? Dang.
Yes, 140 calories, 20 grams of protein.
Wow.
And I do that with some Kite Hill cream cheese, and I'll have fresh berries like blueberries, strawberries, like the berries are important, raspberries. Um, and I like field roast, like I do their sausages sometimes. So that's like a typical breakfast for me right now. I also, if I do oatmeal, I'll add protein powder to it. I tend to like the blends that are pea protein based, as well as some others, pumpkin seed protein, pea protein, mung bean has, there's a protein for that. There's a product called Green Boy. They make unflavored protein powder. So if you're making a chili, a soup, a stew, a sauce, you can toss that in there and you won't even taste it, but it'll just give you a protein boost to your meal. So like I made some chili today, for example, and I could easily throw in some protein powder into that, the unflavored one. I also do use a lot of pea protein. So for those who are gluten-free, for whatever reasons, I'm not going to get into that. But if you do try to avoid gluten, pea protein is a really good source. I would say probably like 10 years ago, it was not, like in terms of flavor. But now there are a lot of pea protein-based protein powders, as well as, for example, I know Beyond Burger is not the healthiest if you get the burger, but Beyond, the company, has Beyond Beef crumbles, which are in the freezer section, which are pea protein based. They are lower fat and higher protein. Okay. Another one is TVP, or textured vegetable protein. You can get the soy version of that if you don't do soy. There are a lot of pea protein based TVPs. So again, that's something I can easily add to a sauce if I'm making a tomato sauce, or I can add it to a chili as well. And I can easily get in 30 to 40 grams of protein per meal, easily. So those are some of my like go-tos.
Okay. Now you told us what you eat. Now I want to hear like a typical day. So like maybe what you ate yesterday or what you ate today. Like I want to see what you ate for breakfast, lunch, snacks, and dinner.
Okay, so, well, today I had my protein bagel. So basically what I just told you today was my breakfast. Field roast sausage, protein bagel. I had strawberries because I'm doing a food co-op right now, so we get like fresh berries. So I'm loving it. Talk about like farm to table. So I've like literally picked the strawberries and had them the next day. So I'll do a lot of strawberries and blueberries. I'll do blackberries. So that's typical breakfast. For lunch, I've been doing a lot of the vegan lunch meats right now because they're quick and it's been busy with like school year ending and all this kind of stuff. So I get like a protein wrap. They're Mission Protein. They make these plant protein wraps, and they have, I forget exactly how much protein, but I'll use that and I'll put in some like hummus and then like the vegan lunch meats, wrap that up with some greens in it. That was my lunch yesterday. I've made my own black bean and lentil chips that I use because they don't have as much salt or fat in them. If you buy chips from the store, they're going to have a lot of fat and oil. So I generally, like, when I can, I'll make my own chips. So yeah, so that'll be like typical lunch. And I'll have a salad, and I have this soy-free tofu. It's actually made with fava beans. It's from this brand in Canada called Big Mountain. And that it's like the lowest fat, lowest carb tofu I've ever found, and it's no soy. So that's what I've been doing lately. Like I'll have that, and I'll make like croutons with it, or I'll make strips and I'll put it on a salad. That's what I literally just had like 10 minutes ago. I put some of the tofu on a salad with some dressing that had like tahini and balsamic vinegar. Is really, really good. So yeah.
Nice breakdown. So you don't have a problem with eating a lot of soy?
So for a long, long time, I did not, because I did probably when I was like 18 or 19. There was some product that I had tried. There weren't many at the time. It was literally like a Boca Burger, if y'all remember those. There was like a Boca Burger, and then like Morningstar Farms had some nasty burger. Anyway, I had something, and I kept having a reaction to it. And so for years I completely avoided soy. And it wasn't until recently, maybe the past few years, that I started like trying out soy milk, and I'll do tempeh because it's fermented.
Mhm.
So I will do tempeh sometimes, and I will do soy milk sometimes, only if it's USDA organic. I'm very clear about that. Because soybeans, the way they're manufactured, particularly in the United States, it's questionable. There's a lot of modification. So when I do get soy, I do USDA organic, but I don't do a whole lot of it. It's not like I don't rely on it as my staple. Um, but I will do things like tempeh from time to time, and soy milk.
Nice. I just lost my thought. I have a next question, but there was something else I was thinking of while you were talking. I hate when that happens. Anyway, hopefully it'll come back.
It'll come back.
Yeah, hopefully. How often do you compete? How often do you compete, and like how many shows have you done? And then how long does it take you to get ready for a show?
Oh, all of those questions it depends. So those are hard because getting ready for a show, there's just so many factors. I will say to anyone who's thinking about it, it's not the type of thing where you just go, oh, I want to do a show in 12 weeks. Let me go just lose a bunch of weight. That is not it. And get a cute bikini and get hair and makeup. Like, no, ma'am. No, sir. Even if you're thinking about doing bodybuilding as a male. So the first thing is you have to build muscle, which depending on your physique, it could take, a couple years. It's not that easy to build muscle, depending on your genetics as well. So for me, the first time around, it was I think that took like 10 months to get ready for my first season, which is not recommended, to be honest. But like I said, I feel like I had some strengths that were working in my advantage at the time, and even my coach at the time advised me to wait a little bit longer. So I actually went earlier than she thought was ideal. So just to be clear, but I did 2 shows my first season. My off season, so that was May of last year. Since then, I've been off season, and I just started preparing now for my next season, which will be in the fall. And we'll see. I haven't 100% committed to any shows yet, but I'm looking at October, November to compete again. So it just really depends, and it's always a moving target. Depends on where your body is. Going through a prep for a show, and anytime you go through any fat loss phase, it's a lot of stress on your body.
Yeah.
So it's not a thing that you want to perpetually do. So there are people who compete, once a year or more than, twice a year, but I don't think that's the best way to go about it. Sorry for the background noise.
Oh, it's okay. That's just nature and life. No.
Yeah, but so for me, I don't know exactly how many shows I'm going to do this season, but I'm planning for the fall. And after that, I don't know. We'll see. My body's going to need a rest. It might be a few years before I compete again. Maybe it'll be a year. I really just don't know. So a lot of it's biofeedback, right? So it depends on where your body is.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been my off season now has been a little bit over a year. So.
Okay, cool. So when you are in the prep phase, how many, and again, you guys don't take heed to anything she says because this is for her and what she's doing. So about do you have to diet down to a certain amount of calories when you're getting closer to your competition?
Yes.
Not your normal way of eating, but you have to go down to a certain amount. How far do you have to go down when you're getting close?
Well, I mean, every prep is different. So it really, like I said, it really just depends. And even if someone who's been competing year after year, every season is a little bit different. So I don't really have a straight, it's this amount of time or this amount of, It just really depends on where, like I said, it's really how is your body responding to your training and your diet. And that's a constant process of monitoring it.
Gotcha. Let's see. I think there's a question in the box. The real Cherie Shields. I remember your name from my other live. She said, how long have you been vegan? She's a little late, so we covered some of this. Yeah. But how long have you been vegan, and where do you get your main source of protein?
Oh, I already kind of talked about that.
I know. Let's make a long story short, since we already covered it. Just tempeh.
Okay. Yeah. Tempeh, pea protein, gluten base, and what was the other one? Oh, how long it been? So yeah. So since I haven't had meat since I was 17, and probably fully vegan probably about the past 4 years or so, roughly. Like I said, it was a gradual process for me. The last thing I probably cut out was cheese, which was like occasional pizza. But I haven't had meat at all since I was 17 years old, and I'm 41. So
Yeah.
there you
Awesome. Thank you. You said, I think it was in your podcast or something I saw when I was researching you. No, you said getting lean for stage is a different ball game. And so what does it take, like, versus just getting lean just on the regular?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so what you see on stage is not a healthy weight for anybody, and it's not your typical beach body ready.
So that's not something someone would want to maintain.
No, it's not something even bodybuilders maintain year round. Because it's not healthy. Your body needs a certain amount of body fat, male or female. Females, we need a little bit more, just to maintain our hormonal profile. So getting lean for stage is not a thing it's not a casual thing to do. The purpose of us doing it, though, is to show off the muscularity in our physique, right? Yeah. So we've been building this physique and we want to show it. And in order to do that, we need to get the body fat out of the way. But it's a lower body fat than you would want to maintain. So it does take a lot of very, very strict monitoring of diet and nutrition and your energy levels. Because as you get very lean, your every little thing matters. Like everything you eat starts to affect you more. Personally, the first time I did it, I felt like really low energy towards the end. My hormones were going haywire like that last month or so. And I had to purposefully add more fat to my diet just so I could function. So there was a lot of things I learned going through that process. And even then I didn't stay there. It was probably for like 3 to 4 weeks where I stayed in that range. And then after that, I was in recovery to get back to a normal body weight.
Do you go crazy?
Just for perspective, that's probably like 20 pounds above like the way I would walk around day to day.
Okay.
Yeah, so a stage weight is like 20 pounds, usually like somewhere around 20 pounds lower than what I would be. So it is, it might not, to the untrained eye, I guess it might not seem like, that much of a difference, but it very much is a different way to feel. So I wouldn't, again, that's why I say, unless you're really into the sport for some other reason, it's not really like a lifestyle thing to do. Lifestyle bodybuilding is more, it's at a higher body fat percentage than what you would see on stage. But it's still a great look. I mean, that's the beach body look that most people want. It's not the stage look.
Yeah. Sometimes that's a bit extreme, but it's just for that day. It's just for that day. You're just, do you go crazy after your competitions? Like, or are you still consistent with it? Like, I know like the non-vegans anyway, just what I've heard and seen and stuff, like they're eating just really high protein and greens all day, right? And then after the competition, they're like just going crazy. Do you do that? Do you give yourself a little big treat after, going crazy with the junk food stuff?
There's like a meal after, like I guess a treat meal or whatever. But I think that a lot of what happens in bodybuilding, again, it's not very typical. And I never cut my carbs so low that I'm not eating any carbs at all. So it's not just protein and veggies. Like that's not how it works. But yeah, I think with most bodybuilders, there is this thing when your body's in recovery, you're just hungry all the time.
Yeah.
And it comes to a point where you're just trying to get back to balance, and you're eating a lot more to get back there. So again, it's a process, and usually people try to reverse diet after a show. I don't know anyone who has done it smoothly, because sometimes it's just the mental fatigue of getting there. I haven't met a bodybuilder who has had this perfect reverse diet. Maybe one person I heard after their 3rd season was like, oh, this time I nailed it. I nailed my reverse diet. But it's a hard thing to do because psychologically it's very taxing.
Is reverse dieting like bringing up the calories a little higher each week or something like that?
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yeah. So reverse dieting is a process of, instead of decreasing calories, right? Like you said, you're increasing calories little by little. You're also doing similar things with your physical activity. So in other words, if you were doing a lot of cardio, you start to kind of tamp that down so that you get back to more of a balance. But it's meant to be a gradual process, so you don't have a huge spike in body fat. That's the purpose of reverse dieting.
Right.
And it's hard to do. It really is hard to do. And that's another reason why having a coach is really important through that process, because you need the support.
Right. For you, For you, not everybody that's watching, but for you, like what's about how much do you eat on a just every day? About how many calories do you eat just as far as maintenance?
Yeah, I'm not gonna, I don't feel comfortable. I don't want people to focus on that. I know it's just
Okay.
telling people, but I'm
I
not
just
gonna get
said
it. But
it's not for
I do
you
have
guys.
to wrap up. So
Okay,
maybe
let's
like
go
one more
ahead and
question
wrap
or
up.
so I can answer.
Yeah, just real quick. I know you said your cardio is more like getting steps, 10,000 a day, and you work out like four to five times a week. What's your breakdown in the workout? Like you do upper body twice a week. You know, how does that look?
Yeah, see, that's another thing that changes. I think the important thing for people to know is that you have to find training that works for you. And generally, what I tell people is whatever you're doing right now, if you want a different result, you need to do something different. So if you're training 4 days a week and you're doing upper body 4 days a week, then maybe you should split up the body parts, right? And maybe do 3 times a week. Or if you've been doing the same exercises all the time, maybe you need to switch it up and try a different type of training. If you've never lifted heavy before, maybe you need to try to lift a little bit heavier the next time you go, right? So, and my training does not stay the same all year. It changes. And even throughout a prep, it changes. So right now I am doing a split. So I'm doing different body parts every day. But it really, again, it depends on, my goals, my training, my physique. So I don't want to give like an exact breakdown of like my training because it's not,
You
it's
just
not going to make
don't
sense
want
for
to give
everyone's
no
body.
information.
No,
like
well, yeah. It was because like it's not that I want to give any information. So what I was telling people is like what I think would be helpful, right? So what I think would be helpful is understanding that there's a concept called progressive overload, and whatever type of training that you do, you want to make sure that you're gradually increasing your reps and your weight, right? So if you're doing squats, you don't want to do the same thing every single time. You want to make sure you're progressively increasing your weight and your repetitions. And the other thing is that you don't want to do a different workout every day. So a lot of people are like, I'm going to go on YouTube today and find a workout to follow. If you do something different every day, you're not going to see results. You need to stick with a plan for at least like 8 to 12 weeks, the same plan, and then progressively get better at that one plan before you switch to something new to get results. But I would say for anyone starting out, if you do 3 days a week, full body workout, that's plenty to see results, and do strength training and just work on, one more rep every time, one more rep each time you go. And it's really that simple, to get into good shape. Yep.
Thank you. Thank you. I know you have to go. So,
Yeah.
you guys make sure you follow Plant Empowered Fitness. I will be posting this on my YouTube channel, but and then putting a small clip on Instagram. But make sure you guys follow her. She's also a coach, and she helps men and women, right?
Yeah, and if anybody has specific questions about protein for them, I do free consultations, so no obligation if you want me to just say, this is what makes sense for you, because I know you were saying, like, you were asking me to give the information. I'm happy to give the information to people on an individual basis, to have that conversation, because I do want people to understand that everyone's body is different, and you want to do what's going to work for you, and I'm more than happy to have that conversation with anyone that's interested. And I also have a protein calculator on my page, so if you want to know how much protein you should get, go to the protein calculator, put your information in, and it'll give you a more customized answer.
Okay, sounds great. Sounds great. Thank you so much. I'm going to announce the next guest, so you can go ahead and go. But thank you so much for coming on my show and my podcast. And I enjoyed learning about you and your fitness journey.
Thanks, Nicole. It's nice chatting with you.
Likewise. Take care. Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys, for joining today. Up next, we'll see. Now, here's the deal. I have someone scheduled for next week. And I've been trying to reach out to them to confirm, but they haven't responded. So I don't know if he's faking on me, but this is who I have for next week, Mr. Iniosity. Okay, so if everything goes well, it'll be next Saturday instead of Sunday, because next Sunday is Father's Day. So I will be interviewing him on June 17th, next Saturday, 12 p.m. PST, 2 p.m. CST, 3 p.m. EST. I'm hoping he will respond and not fake on me. No, I'm just kidding. So thank you guys for joining today. Thank you for those who asked a few questions. And I hope you enjoyed and were inspired. And please share this. Once I post it on my YouTube channel, go subscribe to my YouTube and click on the bell so you can get a notification when I upload it. Make sure you share this, because we want to reach and tell everybody that you can build muscle on a plant-based diet, okay? You can get enough muscle. You can get enough protein. It's all good. Stop hating on us. No. Anyway, thank you guys so much for joining, and I will see you next time.